Welcome back for another tabletop. This is the Mossberg MC1. Not exactly new to the market, but it is Mossberg's first handgun in the better part of a century. We'll take a look coming up next on GBGuns. So the cardboard box that the gun comes in, rather simple, but it has kind of a cool display. Interesting how they did this. You've got the gun in some plastic. Inside this pouch you do have a spare magazine. Yes, it takes Glock mags. And of course your mandatory lock and manual. Pull this out. And this plastic is just tension fit. So once you open up this part of it, the gun comes out cleanly. It's something different. Let me get all this out of the way and take a look. For those of you curious, inside that little baggie, we've got a Mossberg sticker, rugged built, proudly American. I find it interesting they're making such an effort on that part because the whole bit behind their emblem is it's the Swedish flag, and the three crowns, the Tre Krona, is a very classic piece of Swedish history, but it's now an American company. And everything, firearms responsibility. Let's see what the manual looks like. I like showing these because, well, it might be your first gun. Very nice up close photos. It is our standard 4-color print. Looks explanatory enough. Get that out of the way. Let's actually get to why we're all here. The MC1. The MC1SC. So with our chamber flag out and the rubber band gone, we can now take an actual look at the gun. Slide dropped surprisingly easily for having an empty magazine in it. Some guns that's really stiff and difficult to do. Just getting a feel for it. I can get my whole hand on there. The 2 3/4 pinky grip with the extended base plate. With the flush fit, I'm at 2-finger. I love the stainless here, and I also opted to get the cross bolt safety. That's right, it's got a safety here. When you see the red popping out, now the gun can fire. Or push the other way with it popping on this side so you can actually feel it with your trigger finger. You've got a dead trigger. The reason why I opted for that is it's rather unique for single stack 9s, really unique for pistols in general. You don't see it very often. Mossberg was, some would say, late to the party on the single stack 9mm crates. I say they took their time, did it their way. Some things on this gun are very different from what you and I have come to expect. So, looking over those features, starting up front. Slide to frame, we have our standard play, but the barrel is locked in tight inside that slide. If I hold the slide isolated, and we've got no movement of the barrel inside the slide. Ooh. I take that back. A little bit of front to rear play, but that's fine. That all keeps the same alignment. We don't get any wobble elseways. We have some nice slide serrations up front, which do have a good grip to them. They kind of push you down and away. Opted for the stainless because I think that looks better. We don't have an accessory mounting solution, our standard pick rail. I'm sure there's aftermarket stuff out there. They did go with the flat trigger shoe and the safety dingus in the middle, meaning it won't fire unless that thing is depressed. Trigger pull, by the way, comes straight to a wall because the safety's still on. Turn the safety off. Now we're getting more movement. Wall, a little squish, break, our reset. Very tactile, not so audible. Takes us back to that wall for another squish and break, so it'll be consistent trigger pull, which is important in a defensive gun, and this is indeed defensive. We can see that our magazine release does protrude a little bit from the side. there. We have a nice comfortable spot for our thumb to rest through here. Same indentation here with shielding around the safety there. It has to be a deliberate push of the safety. Not much of an undercut under the trigger guard, but like I said, I still get about 2.5 fingers on here. Some decent texturing. It's got an interesting pattern to it, rather complex, molded into the plastic there. Magazine ejection, it kicks it right out, which is good. These magazines are very reminiscent of the ETS magazines for Glock. You can see that we've got that smoke, so we can see very easily how many are in there, and a nice bright orange follower so that you know when it's empty. Underneath, we're on the back side here. There's that texture again. You can see it helps you with the side to side, a little bit with the up and down, which is really where you need it on the front and back strap. And some more of this texturing wrapping around. 3-dot sight system, very big, obvious rear dots. If I can get the camera to focus on the front dot while we do this. You can see you've still got room on both sides of the front sight post, which I like for shooting accurately and identifying your target and what's around it. External extractor. It's a handsome looking gun. I like this kind of bullnose rounding they did here. That was something that, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, people used to pay a lot of money to have done to their Glocks. And the slide is fairly easy to operate. I don't know if it's because this texture is really grabbing onto my hands, or if it's just a nice soft spring in there. We'll have to wait till we get Ms. GBGuns' opinion on that. Why don't we field strip this thing and take a look inside the gun? So field stripping the MC1SC is a little bit different than a lot of striker-fired guns out there, which is kind of cool. I appreciate innovation and changes from the norm, and this gun definitely did it. So we're going to lock the slide back, which incidentally makes sure that the gun is clear. You know it's clear. They even in the manual say you can put it on safe if you want, if the striker's been armed. See, now I can put it on safe. And there's a button here that we're going to push in on while also pulling the slide plate out. It shows this kind of motion, a pinching. So a thumb is going underneath the back of the plate. I'm going to push in on this button and slide the plate out. There's the back plate, and now bright orange tells us there's our striker, which slides right out. Remove the striker, and now with that gone, slide comes right off. No need to squeeze the trigger, so very safe for those that are sensitive to needing to do that. Looking inside our frame, very nicely done. Everything looks pretty clean. Slide, of course, doesn't show any machine marks. We'll remove our recoil assembly, which you can see is a captured dual spring assembly. That probably explains largely why the slide was easy to rack, because you've got stacking resistance there instead of just one full resistance. We're going to pop our barrel up, forward and down, bring it out to remove the barrel. Still got quite a bit of packing grease on here. I haven't fired this thing yet, but very nicely machined. I hope the camera's picking that up for you. This newer camera's been a little sensitive on lighting. And here's our barrel. We can see where, of course, the slide rides. Standard rub. A little bit of a crown to help protect the rifling. Whew, that was dirty. Dirty on the feed ramp there. Not polished in a shiny way, but feels smooth. We'll check chamber fit with a nozzle match, which apparently I didn't close last time. Use a nozzler ammunition as we always have, because in my tests so far, it's the most consistent of the ammunition out there. Good thing that wasn't a full box, right? We check chamber fit by dropping a round in, and the reason why we're doing that is we want to see how well the chamber is supported underneath the brass. What we're looking for is there exposed brass beyond that little fold? You see that fold there? And we can see a little bit underneath. And that's fine. A lot of manufacturers have done that. Glocks have been that way for years. It's something to be cautious of when it comes to using reloads or maybe very inexpensive ammunition of questionable background, which of course you shouldn't be using in the first place. That's the stuff where if there is a case rupture or case failure, the chamber support is going to dictate where that pressure goes. If the case is fully supported by the chamber, it's going to make sure it all goes out the end of the barrel. If it's not fully supported back here, like we saw, some of it can come down into the stock or grip of the gun. It ends up usually blowing the magazine at the bottom, making a lot of noise and scaring the bejeebus out of you. Generally still safe, but it's something that I look for and some people enjoy that I look for, so I wanted to show it to you. Reassembling, we got our barrel back in, spring back in, just like on any other. Man, that racks so nice and easily. With this held back, we're going to drop our striker back in. And of course, this spring is going to stick up some. And what they recommend is you, same hold while pushing on that little button, use that button to wedge the striker guide, the orange piece of plastic, further down, and then work your plate back up. It clicks in place just like that. We can do a quick functions check. Everything works well. So I first shot these at their debut, SHOT Show 2019, and I thought, oh, yay, another single stack 9. Wasn't as excited about it as I'm sure some of you felt the same way, other than it being very cool that Mossberg came out with them. Then I got to spend some real quality time with one at a writer event later on, and comparing it in my mind with other single stack 9s, it felt pretty darn good. The problem I have with hands of my size is I usually run out of stuff to hold on to, end up squeezing, throwing shots a little bit left, and it just becomes a little less pleasant. So I generally run an 8 or 9 round magazine sticking pretty far out so I can get a whole hand on it. And at that point, it's like, really, do I need a single stack? So Mossberg impressed me. I found they're going to be softer shooting than others and just handling better. When we get this out to the range, we'll run our What's for Dinner through it. And of course, Ms. GBGuns, Tia, will do some shooting as well and let us know what she thinks of it. She's been carrying a single stack 9 for a while. I moved back to larger double stack frame guns a while ago. We might even do a separate video lining this up with a bunch of other single stack 9s to take a look at how it handles and feels using the same ammunition, gun versus gun versus gun. Of course, the challenge in writer events, and even a lot of YouTube videos that you might watch out there, is they generally only use one type of ammunition. And that load may or may not be a good match with that gun. And so their perspective is a little skewed. So that's part of why we do What's for Dinner. It's also why when we take this out and line it up with others, we're going to try to run more than one load through all of the guns to get a feel for, really, is our opinion of one gun being better than the other just that particular ammo pairing, or is it the gun itself? I'm really interested to get out there and do that. I hope you guys join us, and we'll see you on the range. Thanks for watching.